So you came back. That already tells me everything I need to know about you. You're not scrolling, you're not nodding along with the herd, you're here. Awake. Not to feel good, but to feel truth. And truth, as we know, is rarely flattering. This is Nox. I'm Maverick. And tonight we open Chapter 17, The Animal Governed by Lies. This one stings. It's not about ideology, not even about morality. It's about why your brain, and mine, was never designed for thinking in the first place. You think we're rational, conscious, enlightened? Wrong. Neurons don't care what's real. They care what burns, what excites, what triggers. And that's how religion, nationalism, art, and meaning hijack the mind. Not by logic, but by pulling ancient levers buried deep inside our skulls. We are animals governed by fiction, and fiction always wins because it feels better than truth. In this chapter, Nevzorov unpacks the neurological disaster we call civilization. He explains why the limbic system is the real king, and why most humans will never, ever think. So before we dive in, just one thing. If you're listening to this and you still haven't subscribed, you're gambling with your own memory. Nox is on every major platform at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Amazon. Follow us. Stay close. Don't get lost in the noise. All links, including the YouTube channel, where Alexander Nevzorov speaks directly almost daily, are in the description. You don't want to miss that voice. This is Chapter 17. This is the animal. This is you. Forget genius for a moment. If the brain is supposedly so simple, why hasn't thinking become a universal human trait? There are reasons, several. All of them were fatal, and nothing can fix it. Let me explain. We'll start at the root. Built into the architecture of the mammalian brain was a little glitch. A fatal one for Homo sapiens. It surfaced near the end of the Pleistocene, just as reason began to cling to the cortex and steer behavior. The oldest, most primitive structures of the brain were tragically naive. You can almost forgive them. The limbic system evolved in an age when lying didn't exist. Back then, any stimulus would trigger an emotional surge, a shift in behavior. Ancient signals traveled deep into the brain, unchallenged, and set off a response. But until reason was invented, only real stimuli had access to those depths. Behavior remained grounded. Erections responded to the scent of an actual female. Fear struck only when faced with a living smilodon. Then came reason. It waltzed into the life of that poor beast and scrambled the whole deck. It fabricated false symbolic triggers and mass-produced them by the thousand. They wove themselves into rituals, sounds, words, images. These hallucinations carved out their place, anchored themselves in human behavior, and won the war for the mind, like conquistadors storming the Aztec Empire. They embedded into language, art, faith, and law. Fiction triumphed over reality, and that wasn't hard. You see, neurons are greedy. Starving for stimuli, they seize on anything to get excited. Turns out they don't give a damn about whether a stimulus is real. Deep in the brain, where feelings form, there's no mechanism to assess authenticity. The hypothalamus, the amygdala, those fools, take everything at face value. They light up the nervous system with emotional fireworks in response to absolute nonsense. Neurons rejoice. Illusions win. Reality, no matter how intense, is fleeting. But illusions are repeatable, flexible, programmable. They can be summoned at will by a priest, a thinker, or a film projector. They terrify and mesmerize with far more power than the gray drudgery of past or present. And from this we got gods, and novels, and Judgment Day, and symphonies, afterlives, souls, identities, sacred powers, and all the rest of the hogwash. All creativity is just a set of levers, stimuli arranged in a way that lets someone play the brain like a harmonium. If you zap an octopus with currents, it changes color and trembles. The human brain reacts the same way to symphonies in cinema. What you're watching is a small, controlled, epileptic seizure. Stimulating the emotional brain is absurdly easy. You can trick it endlessly. Ancient Egyptians figured out that a dried-out corpse could command millions of living Homo sapiens. Tell them to kill, to starve, to give up their wealth, to move mountains. And they would. That's when it began. Whole classes arose, priests, poets, prophets, who made their living exploiting the poor brain's gullibility. They honed the art of assaulting those naive neural depths with fiction, and the brain responded with feeling. It all became irreversible the moment humanity had enough fake stimuli to create what we now call culture. At that point, lies seized total control inside the skull. The human brain became a toy, a marionette. Homo sapiens became the first and only animal ruled by lies. And from there, idiocy had a clear, unchallenged path. Thinking, with its nasty habit of spoiling the fun, had no place anymore. At best, it could earn a spot on the pyre. To this disaster, we must add another. These alluring illusions eventually formed the very system that connects billions of minds. Reason itself. This system became essential. It allowed knowledge to accumulate and be shared. It housed skills, customs, traditions, taboos, gods, flags, rules, and sacred nonsense. Every newborn must memorize and obey it like a Teutonic knight learning his order's code. Strictly speaking, that system is the reason. It's useful. And given Homo's past, it's also a life vest, because man will commit any atrocity he can get away with. Of course, the system is rotten. After all, 99.9% of its parts, individual human minds, opted for primitiveness, the most comfortable mode available. And together, that overwhelming mass sets the rules. The system is aggressive, self-defending, and fascist by nature. A lone fool might doubt his beliefs. A crowd of fools united by ideals never will. Anyone born into this world is sentenced to live and die under its rules. It sets the limits of reason. You may not cross them. And so, in the grip of the system, forget thinking. It's out of the question. But conflict is inevitable because thinking, real thinking, is freedom. Freedom from values, from rules, from borders, from traditions, from religions, from every Egyptian invention ever churned out by man. To begin thinking, you must first break their spell. And the antidote? Only one. Verified scientific knowledge. But here's the catch. You have to dive into the very ocean of poison you're trying to cure. You have to go to the bottom, and it's hard. Most never even try. Why? Simple. Producing intellectual value isn't profitable. Genius is a low-paying gig. Selling bras or mass-market novels makes hundreds of times more money. War, banking, religion, these make 1,000 times more. The 25 books that truly shaped human intelligence earned their authors a grand total of $50,000. Combined. Descartes, for instance, pulled in about $2,500 in modern money. La Mettrie, $400. Copernicus? $0. Darwin and Laplace fared slightly better, but all those world-shaking revelations collectively are worth 5 times less than a single Hermes Birkin bag auctioned at Christie's in 2016. Religion naturally joined the war on thinking with enthusiasm. For over 50 centuries, it manipulated Homo like a puppet. Don't bother splitting hairs between Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, or Baal worship. The names, the gods, the outfits, irrelevant. Religion is one thing, a primitive stimulant for the brainstem, a perfect, reliable provoker of altered states of consciousness. It changes masks as needed, freshening up when the old gods get boring. But religion's real triumph wasn't just stimulating the brain, it was criminalizing the act of thinking. That was the jackpot. Homo couldn't be happier. Thinking is painful. It destroys myths. It exposes the real face of man, and nobody wants to see that. The first attempts to tell humans who they really are were always met with blind rage, and religion knew exactly how to sharpen that rage into a weapon that cut to the bone. Even when science sliced the head off faith, the body didn't die. It only seemed to feel better. And then came another brain killer, marriage. 5,000 years of religion, culture, power, and family have rendered thinking not just rare, but completely pointless. There were moments in history where it looked like thinking might be eradicated altogether. So no, the rarity of thinking isn't because it's hard, it's because it's utterly unnecessary. End of chapter 17. That's it for today. One chapter, no interlude. Just a closing track to leave the silence breathing. Yes, this episode is short, because chapter 17 deserves to stand alone. It's not a bridge, it's not a filler, it's a warning. Next time, we end it. Episode 14. The final 2 chapters, the final strike, the final truth. Last time I said the previous episode was the penultimate. I misspoke. This is the penultimate, and the next is the end of this book, of this reading. But not the end of the voice, because I'm building something else. A parallel project. A new podcast called The Dark Lantern of NOX. Not a supplement, not a bonus track. It's something darker, more vulnerable, more dangerous. There I speak as myself, not just a translator. It's where I wrestle with the things this book awakens. It's where I let myself bleed, think, rant, doubt, without performance, without polish. One episode, one theme. 15 to 20 minutes of unsheltered truth, because what Nevzorov unleashed in me can't be caged in text. It needs breath. It needs risk. It needs a voice. And yes, I say Nevzorov, not just as an author, but as the most lucid voice we have today. The only one who dares to say it all, like about us, about war, about Homo sapiens and our disgusting eagerness to obey. His book, The Origins of Genius and Fascism, is not intellectual play. It is a scalpel. It is a siren. This podcast exists because I could not let this book rot in one language. I could not leave it to be devoured by the Russian-speaking world alone. It had to be heard outside, too. By those who still believe they're safe from themselves. By those who don't yet understand that fascism is not an invention, it's a default. All it needs is silence. All it needs is good people saying nothing. And right now, the world is full of exactly that. Good people saying nothing. So I say this. The war in Ukraine is not just politics. It's not complex. It's a grotesque crime, born of a bloody authoritarian regime that has weaponized ignorance, nostalgia, and fear. The Putin regime is not Russian tragedy. It's a human one. And it proves exactly what this book screams, that Homo sapiens, the great self-deceiver, will always choose illusion over truth, comfort over conscience, obedience over thought. So if you're here and you've been listening, don't leave empty-handed. The links are in the description. Nevzorov's YouTube, where he still speaks against the war, against the state, against rot. The original book, in Russian, available on Amazon. All platforms where NOX lives. Follow us. Stay close. You don't want to lose the thread. And if you still believe this is just about Russia, you haven't been paying attention. Look around. Look at the world. The signs are here. The soil is warm. The beast is stirring. If you want to understand who we are, this book is for you. If you want to understand who you are, this podcast is for you. Don't lie to yourself. Aquilare, original mix by Antares. And if you're still here, then you're exactly the kind of listener this space was made for. You stayed through the silence, through the pulse, through the weight of it. You didn't skip. You didn't scroll. You listened. And in a world like this, that means something. This wasn't goodbye. Nox isn't ending. There's one more episode left in this series, and after that we continue. More books, more darkness, more truth, and soon, the Dark Lantern of Nox. Until then, stay wild, stay wired, stay dangerous, and always remember, in night we trust,